General Motors, the legendary U.S. car manufacturer, has pioneered the electric vehicle when Elon Musk probably was only dreaming about one. We're talking about the 1990s EV1, a forgotten car with a mission to make GM the largest EV manufacturer in the world. However, things didn't work out as well as planned. Today we will disclose 8 shocking reasons why the CEO of GM turns her back on EV production. Number 8. Lack of battery cells. GM and its latest CEO had huge plans in the EV field, so much so that there was loud and brash claims to dethrone Tesla as the EV king and become the major player in EV manufacturing. So far, none of those claims happened. Even more, GM is struggling with their EV program, and the CEO of the company, previously a great advocate for EVs, is starting to have second thoughts about her plans. The main reason for that is very simple. A manufacturer can dream of building EVs all day long, but it will remain only a dream if you don't have the resources to make the vehicles out of. Now you might ask yourself, how a giant company like GM, the pride of the American motor industry, does not have the necessary resources to make cars? Well, they have, when we talk about traditional internal combustion engine cars. EVs, however, are a completely different story. One of the most important, perhaps even the most important components in an electric vehicle is the battery. Without one, the car is about as useful as a window without a glass. So, no batteries, no EVs, and no plans for world domination. Okay, no problem, someone would say. Let's just make more batteries. And here things get really ugly. Most of the batteries in the world are made in China, the geopolitical arch-enemy of the US. And while big companies usually tend to put the political differences aside, prioritizing financial gain, there are a few reasons why this will not be the case. China by itself is a giant market with an insatiable appetite for new vehicles, so they consume a sizable amount of what they are producing. And it doesn't look like they are going to sacrifice their own car manufacturing industry to help out a struggling US automaker anytime soon. Furthermore, China does not only dominate the global battery manufacturing and supply market, they practically own the global raw material market as well. So even if GM would try to manufacture their own batteries, the end result would be exactly the same. Number 7. Supply chains. And the problem with batteries does not end there. Let's remember that not only EVs need batteries. The same technology is used in our everyday appliances. Countless phones, watches, tools, computers use the same exact cells. Now everything needs to be cordless and portable. We even have cordless blenders among other things. And while some of those items are really useful and convenient, we need to remember one thing. There's only an extremely limited amount of precious metals like lithium and cobalt on Earth. Car manufacturers need to compete not only among one another for those resources, but also with other giant companies that consume vast amounts of the same materials to build their product. Thus, we have a supply chain problem. A problem the current GM of CEO is more than familiar with, because previously she was the head of the global purchasing and supply chain of GM. But even with all the experience, she can't do much in this situation. It's because the current global battery market operates in the style of an all-you-can-eat buffet, where food is scarce and everything works on a first-come, first-served principle. And despite the radical and ahead-of-its-time EV1 concept we mentioned earlier, GM came very late to the very recent EV party. So late that now they can only get the leftovers. Number 6. Wrong strategy. The lack of batteries surely can explain why GM decided to first introduce low-volume special edition luxury vehicles to the market instead of a car for the masses. And while the Cadillac Lyriq could potentially still be considered a quote-unquote normal EV, then the 100 grand plus electric Hummer can't. Of course, there are plans to introduce more EVs to the market. The latest entry, according to some insiders, should be one of GM's best sellers, the Chevy Tahoe. But these are only the plans yet, and we know how that goes. On paper, the strategy looks brilliant. Ford converted one of their best sellers to electric power, and GM wants to go along that already explored route. However, it is more than likely that they will meet the same obstacles. In reality, this strategy is extremely risky and is solely built on the premise that drivers will buy their beloved name badge even in electric form. Keeping in mind that a large SUV needs a much bigger battery pack, for which resources are already extremely limited. Coupled with the conservatism of US buyers, this strategy could easily backfire on GM. A better strategy would be to bring out affordable and well-built vehicles for the average buyer. But it looks like GM simply can't secure enough batteries for this plan to happen. Number 5. Impatient investors. According to the information of some high-ranking industry insiders, the investors are not very happy about how the situation is unfolding. And it's easy to understand. They invested in the company hoping that the plans of becoming the #1 manufacturer will happen, and their hopes were well-founded. GM is one of the largest car manufacturers, not only in the US, but the entire world. So the possibility to dethrone Tesla and claim the title of leading EV manufacturer was plausible, especially keeping in mind the resources that GM possesses. Probably the only thing this plan lacked was Elon Musk. The charismatic billionaire convinced the stakeholders and investors and made them believe the cause. Tesla was a cash-burning company from the beginning and only recently started to generate money. GM's case is different, as investors sunk their cash in the company, believing that a global automotive supergiant surely can outdo some startup led by an eccentric playboy. Oh, how wrong they were. Tesla is now an automotive EV manufacturing supergiant with its own battery manufacturing plants, and GM must fight the competition for every battery cell they can. So the plan for making a quick buck or billion of them did not come true, and GM's investors do not enjoy this situation at all. GM CEO probably is feeling the heat right now. Number 4. Workforce layoff. To make things at least partially better, she devised an even more genius solution. What can a car manufacturer mega company do when the world domination plans go out the window due to poor strategy and severe supply chain problems? Well, they need to start saving money, and the best way to do so appears to be a massive workforce layoff. The recently surfaced news does not specify how many qualified workers the door will be shown, but the plan is to save around $2 billion annually, so the number of people losing their job could be in the tens of thousands. Number 3. Quality of the product. Of course, why do you want workers when you can't secure the materials to build the cars in the first place? Well, probably to make the ones you are already producing to be the best quality possible. However, in GM, they see things rather differently. How else can we explain the fact that they need to recall the latest models of their extensive EV range, consisting of a whole 2 models, due to faulty battery high-voltage connectors? That's 2 models. And not ordinary cheap people carriers, mind you. These are expensive, high-performance luxury vehicles. And GM can't even do that right. Yes, the world domination plans look even more ridiculous now. And some might say, wait, but Tesla has reliability and quality problems even more severe. Yes, but Tesla was a startup company that in the beginning didn't even know what they were doing. In GM's case, we are talking about a manufacturer with a century of car manufacturing experience. Number 2. Difficulties to readjust. And probably that is one of the biggest problems for so-called legacy automakers. They have a hard time readjusting to new rules of the game. Having a century of experience is a great thing, but GM needs to understand that times have changed. GM is a manufacturer producing traditional vehicles for traditional buyers. Perhaps the best way of action is to stick to that philosophy and keep doing what they were good at for 100 years. Number 1. Strong rivalry in the EV segment. GM sure has a great piece of the pie in the traditional vehicle market. The EV market is dominated by Tesla, and every other competitor will be judged and compared to the cars from California. And in most cases, all other cars will lose this match. Elon Musk, with his undeniable charisma, formed a religion around himself and his car brand. Tesla owners, besides being the most annoying, are also one of the most loyal to their brand. He did that because he can make the cars as ludicrous as he wants. He can make the public awe with some obscene HP number. GM just can afford that luxury because they're an old-school company and profits must be made. So then only one question arises. Why fight in the global battery buffet for scraps when you have a juicy piece of market pie at home?